This is Chris with Scale. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the analytics tools that PHENOM provides. To access the analytics, we're going to go to the same place that we looked for the health checks, in the Generate mode, except it's the second tab, not the first. Now, there are three tools here, and we'll take a look at each one. The first one, this gives us a general graph of the number of times entities are used in semantic paths. And this is actually a pretty good progression. We see there are some entities that are not used very often, as well as we see some entities that are used many times. Now, when there are entities being reused, there's some indication that there are several interfaces that talk about different aspects of those entities. If this were all a flat 1 or 2, where each entity was only used 1 or 2 times in a semantic path, or if they were all used evenly, that would probably be a pretty good indication to us that we were looking at a message entity model or just a message model. The second tool is attribute usage. Similar to entity usage, we can see how many times attributes are used in our semantic paths. And this gives us a really good idea of some of the high traffic areas of our model and some of the entities that are most projected. If we look all the way to the left, we can see that airsystem.airVehicle is used 416 times. So this gives us a really good indication of what a lot of our model is talking about. Whereas if we look all the way out here to the right, it's most likely an indication that these are the things that our model or the interfaces in our model talk about a lot less. Now, semantic equivalencies. This is an interesting tool, and it really has a pretty narrow use, but that doesn't mean it's not incredibly powerful. So let's say that you have two different standards that you're trying to align in their documentation. Well, how do you know how close you're getting? Well, this tool will help you with that. So let's go into our model and we'll look at some of the existing interfaces that we have here. And I'm just going to pick a very simple STANAG 4586 interface, and we'll choose inertial states. Now, in order for this tool to work, we need to tag an interface. So I'm going to edit the tag, and we're just going to call this V1. Save. Now, I'm going to find the same message in version 2. There we go. Edit the tag, and we'll call this V2. And save. Okay, great. Now, in choosing our semantic equivalence, we can choose V1 and V2. And we see that we have a 93% coverage between these two standards. Well, what does that look like? We can expand these, and we can see that all of these semantic paths in V1 map to these things in V2. However, these two items do not. And that's really where our gap exists. Now, it just so happens that when STANAG 4586 went to version 2, they removed these two attributes from the inertial states message. In fact, they removed them from all of the messages and moved them to the header. So although we're showing 93%, this is as good as we can get for a STANAG 4586 mapping. But does this actually change? So let's go in, we'll go to navigate mode, and let's just go in and change the documentation we have for inertial states, V1. Okay, so let's go in and let's just edit the path for this field, and we'll just add some additional context to it. Okay, lock that in, hit save, and now let's go back to take a look at our semantic equivalence. And we see that we've dropped to 89%. When we look at our no semantic equivalence found, we see that the altitude AGL has been added to the list. Clearly, we could go back and change it, to fix that misalignment. Now, previously mentioned, this semantic tool exists on our front page as well. So if you're working on a large project and you're trying to bring down the gap between multiple standards, you can set this widget up. And every time you log in, you can see what your current coverage is. That's it for this video. In our next video, we'll take a look at some of the different products that PHENOM can produce.